Trauma didn't just hurt you, it stole something. And I know you think it's your innocence, but it was something so much worse: your ability to dream. When you spend your formative years on what I like to call survival mode, dreaming feels, well, dangerous, pointless. Like saying, "Hey, disappointment, come on over, the door's unlocked." I mean, I get it. And the official statistics on me: I'm a little boy that came from a super chaotic background. They said I would be a lock for jail, like a sure thing. And instead, I got 3 perfectly good degrees, and now I'm a doctoral candidate, which is, frankly, quite a bit of administrative work. Because here's the shocking truth, the unsettling truth that no one is telling you. Healing from trauma is not merely about stopping the chronic, debilitating pain. Oh no. It's about demanding a refund on the future that was stolen from you. Today, I'm going to break down the exact 5 steps that help me go from, well, I'll probably end up in a very small cell, to I am building a life I actually want, which apparently involves a lot of tasteful throw pillows. These are not what I call fluffy affirmations. They are practical, research-based strategies that work even when your starting point is what I like to call zero. So let's get into it. First, we have to talk about why trauma makes dreaming feel impossible. Because if you don't understand the problem, you can't fix it. And you're just wildly guessing, which as a system does not work for me. When you grow up in chaos, your brain becomes, frankly, an expert at one thing: survival, not thriving, not planning for the future, just, making it through the next hour without everything exploding. And I mean everything in a very real, very emotional sense. Here's the neurological nightmare. Your amygdala, which is the fear center in your brain, and I'm going to use the word fear center because I'm not a monster, and your prefrontal cortex, the part that plans for the future, imagines possibilities. The part of you use to say, pick out throw pillows, that part just takes a nap. It signs out. Your brain literally rewires itself to prioritize immediate, low-stakes threats over long-term goals. When I was a kid, dreaming about college felt like fantasizing about winning the Mega Millions lottery. Not because I wasn't smart enough, but because my nervous system was too busy running the terrifying math on whether I would, in fact, survive dinner. Turns out, when your entire system is on high alert, your brain doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about your 5-minute plan. Specifically, do not perish. And here's the kicker. The physical danger, the thing that caused trauma, well, it's gone. And for some of us, it's not been there for many years. You could be sitting in a perfectly safe apartment, stable job, watching a documentary about a nice woman making bread, and your body is still operating under the assumption that the house is on fire. That is not a personality defect. That is not you being dramatic, even though I'm sure you get accused a few times a day. That is your nervous system being aggressively loyal to one system it was trained to do, which is an awful way to run your life. So if you've ever felt like hope is just a very cruel joke that you keep falling for, that is not a character flaw. That is biology. Your brain is trying to protect you from the crushing disappointment of wanting something you don't think you can have. But I have some good news, and you're going to be so relieved. You can actually retrain your brain. And that's what these 5 steps are for. So, if you want to convince your very agitated brain that it is, in fact, safe to dream again, this is where step number 1 comes in. And full disclosure, it's not what you think. It's not about positive thinking. It's not about those vision boards, or you're not making a collage. It's about something far, far more fundamental. You cannot dream about the future when your body is certain it is about to be consumed by wolves. Scientific fact. Your nervous system is like a very expensive European smoke alarm. Trauma makes it hypersensitive. Every minor inconvenience feels like a 5-alarm fire. Someone raises their voice. Unexpected bill. Full evacuation. Full evacuation. A text message that says, we need to talk. Well, I hope you like the feeling of absolute cold dread because that's your nervous system announcing it's the end of days. You can't plan for tomorrow when your body is currently screaming about today. All of your energy is being poured into managing the present moment, which is like trying to plan a wedding while also trying to stop a runaway train. So, before you can dream, you need to teach your body that safety is possible. Not perfect, not permanent, but an option. Here's how. Strategy 1, grounding techniques. When your nervous system spikes, and it will spike, you need to bring it down with a firm but gentle hand. My personal favorite is what I call the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It sounds so simple, it's offensive, but it works because it yanks our brain out of the past where the trauma lives and into the present moment, which, believe me, is far less interesting, but also far less dangerous. Strategy 2, somatic practices. This is a fun one. Your trauma lives in your body. It has a lease, and you need to evict it. Box breathing is huge for this. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. You do this, and you are actively activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is a very formal, very nice way of telling your body,
sir, you may need to chill out.
I used to think meditation was for people who had their lives together, people who enjoy herbal tea and have never felt true panic. Turns out it's for people whose nervous system is a dumpster fire with a little umbrella sticking out of it. And if you're watching this, you probably qualify. Welcome to the club. We have anxiety, and we do not, under any circumstances, trust each other. Never. DTA. Don't trust anyone. Strategy 3, consistent routines. Trauma, like a gremlin, thrives in unpredictability. Your nervous system calms down when it knows what's coming next. Same wake time, same boring, predictable morning routine, same ritual at night. It sounds like something a middle manager would institute, and it is. But boring is exactly what your nervous system needs in order to feel safe. You don't need to be some sort of Zen master 24/7 other than immediate survival. Like, I don't know, maybe a future worth looking into. Okay, so your nervous system is perhaps stabilizing. We're in a stable place. Now what? Well, this is where people make a huge, terrible mistake. They try to dream big immediately. They say, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to travel the world. I proclaim it. And then they crash and burn like the Hindenburg. We are starting with micro dreams because your very cautious brain needs proof that dreaming is safe before it will let you say, I don't know, buy a timeshare. Here is the issue with trauma. It doesn't just kill your ability to dream. It actively and aggressively kills your ability to trust yourself. Every single time you hoped for something and it didn't happen, Your brain filed that away as evidence that hoping is very high risk, low reward kind of activity. So you cannot jump straight into, I want to buy a house in a competitive housing market, or I want to start a business that involves a complicated tax structure. Your brain will immediately shut down. It will pull the plug. Too risky, friend. Too much room for the inevitable crushing disappointment.
Get out of here, Stan. That plan is ridiculous.
Instead, you start with dreams so small, they feel, honestly, insulting. I'm talking about things like, I want to drink my coffee in uninterrupted peace tomorrow morning. I want to take a walk without my phone, which is a dream, truly. I want to cook one meal that I actually enjoy this week and not just heat up the same sad leftovers. See, these are not goals, but they are micro dreams. They are tiny little experiments in wanting something and then watching, absolutely gobsmacked, as it actually happens. When I first started doing this, my dream was, I want to read for 15 minutes before bed. And that's it. No grand vision, just 15 minutes. And I did it. And my very skeptical brain went, huh? Wait a minute. Wait. We wanted something and we got it. Huh. That's very, very interesting. And that's how you rebuild trust with yourself. Not through massive life overhauls. That's a whole different show, a whole different YouTube channel. But through tiny, consistent wins that prove to your brain dreaming doesn't have to end in, some kind of dramatic, very dramatic failure. So once you've got a few micro dreams under your belt, maybe you had a great cup of coffee, maybe you read the paper, it's time for step number 3. And this one is very actively uncomfortable because it requires you to do one thing trauma survivors are famously, catastrophically bad at. This is the point in the presentation where things get, they just get very uncomfortable. Let's just be real. Because trauma survivors are, and I say this with all the affection in the world, experts at knowing what other people need. We can read a room like it's a very large, expensive book. We know how to keep the peace with the most chaotic, deranged individuals. We know how to manage everyone else's crippling emotions. We anticipate problems before they are even theoretically thoughts. But you ask us what we want. Blank stare. Panic. The little voice in my head just goes, I don't know. What do you want? What do you want? Is that okay? That is not an accident, ladies and gentlemen. When you grow up in survival mode, your wants don't matter. They're frankly a luxury you simply cannot afford. So you stop having them. Or you take them out back and you bury them so deep that you forget that they ever existed. Here's how you start the unsettling process of digging them back up. Exercise 1. The if money, time, fear weren't an issue question. Just close your eyes, or don't if that's unsettling, and imagine this. You have unlimited resources and zero chance of catastrophic failure. What would you do with this one messy life? Now, don't edit yourself and don't be practical. If the answer is, I would live in a very small, perfectly clean cabin and never, ever speak to another human being again, write it down. This is data, and that tells you something. Exercise 2. Notice what makes you furious. Anger, which is a very fun emotion, is actually a compass. It points you directly to your violated values. If you are furious that you never have a moment alone, that tells you something very specific. You value autonomy. If you are angry that people keep interrupting you, that tells you very loudly that you value being heard. Your anger is essentially the disgruntled employee who is finally showing you what truly matters. Exercise 3. Pay attention to envy. When you see someone else living a life that makes you think, and be honest here, man, I wish I had that. You do not want to dismiss it as petty jealousy. You lean in. That is your brain holding up a picture of a possibility you want, but have convinced yourself that you can't have. When I did this, I realized I was deeply jealous of people who had the time to read a book for pleasure. Not because I can't read, I have 3 degrees, remember? But because I had convinced myself that I didn't deserve the leisure time. That was a major clue for me. It told me I value learning, and I've been denying myself this very small pleasure. You don't need to have all of the answers right now. That would be chaotic, and well, let's face it, you've had enough of that. You just need to start asking the question, not what should I want, not what's the realistic option, just simply, what do I want? So you know what you want, or at least you're starting to figure it out, which is a big deal. Please clap for yourself. Knowing what you want doesn't matter if you don't actually believe that you specifically are allowed to have it. Because your brain is still operating on outdated software. And it's time for a mandatory, politely terrifying update. Trauma is a notorious, very convincing liar. Better than your ex-wife. Better than your ex-wife's ex-husband. It gets in your ear and it whispers things like, you're not smart enough to manage this. Good things don't happen to people like you. If you try, you will simply fail, and then you will prove everyone right. So stay home. And here's the absolute worst part. Your very earnest, very gullible brain believes it. Because when you were a small and vulnerable child, those beliefs kept you safe. If you didn't hope for anything, you couldn't be terribly disappointed. If you didn't try, you couldn't fail spectacularly. But what protected you then is actively, aggressively destroying you now. It's like wearing a winter coat in July. It's just too much. It's just too dang hot in here, friends. So you need to start interrogating those beliefs, not with toxic positivity, not with affirmations that feel, frankly, like self-betrayal, but with evidence. Here's the process. It's very simple. It's like arguing with a very stubborn ghost. Step 1, write down the belief. Example, I'm not capable of finishing anything I start. Step 2, ask, is this 100% true? 100% of the time? Have you never ever finished anything? Not a book, not a meal, not that very long phone call? Probably not. You finish things. So the belief is not a fact. It's just a terrible generalization. Step 3, find counter evidence. List 3 times that you did finish something. Even small things count. You finished a very complicated job application. You finished watching this very long video. You went to the bathroom because you had to go number 2, and you stayed through until you didn't have any more to do. That is evidence. That is a court admissible fact. Step 4, rewrite the belief. The new updated version, I struggle to finish things when I'm overwhelmed, but I have finished things before, and I can in fact do it again. That's not delusional optimism. That is reality. You are not pretending the struggle doesn't exist. You're simply refusing to let the struggle define your entire existence. When I did this, my biggest, loudest lie was, people like me do not get doctorates. The numbers agreed. Kids from my background end up in, well, a correctional facility. They don't end up in the ivory tower arguing about US political theory. But then I looked at the evidence. I'd already gotten 2 degrees. I'd already been accepted into the program. The belief wasn't true. It was just loud. But loud does not mean true. And once you start challenging it, the ghost, well, starts to lose its voice. All right. We're on the home stretch now. You've stabilized your nervous system. You've practiced micro dreams. You've figured out what you want. You've shut up the lies. Now comes the final step. And this one is the most important. This one is one that actually changes your tax bracket. Take one imperfect action. Because dreaming without the doing is just fantasy. And frankly, we've survived too much trauma to live in a fantasy world. Here's where most people get stuck in what I like to call the fail-safe gap. They do all the internal work, they stabilize, they figure out the dream. They argue with the trauma ghost, and then nothing. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect morally superior version of themselves. Let me save you some time and a lot of emotional capital. That moment never, ever, ever comes. Trauma survivors are, and this is another term of affection, perfectionists. Not because we love excellence, but because we are absolutely terrified of failure. We think if we just plan enough, prepare enough, wait until we're ready enough, we will avoid the awful, inevitable feeling of screwing up. But here's the simple, ugly truth. You will screw up. You will make mistakes. You will have a setback that feels like betrayal. And that is not a reason to stop. That is, in fact, proof that you're actually trying. So, I'm going to give you permission to fail, to mess up, to trip and stub your toe, because it's okay. We all do it. So step 5 is elegant in its simplicity. Take one imperfect action toward your dream. Not 10 actions, not a perfect action that has been proofread by 3 lawyers, just one imperfect action. Some examples to set the tone. If your dream is to go back to school, your action is research one program. Not apply, not write a thesis, just look at one program. If your dream is to start a small business, your one action is write down 3 terrible, ridiculous ideas. And that's it. If your dream is to have healthier relationships, your one action is send one single text to one single person you trust that says, I appreciate you. When I decided I was going back to school, I had no plan. I had no money. I didn't even know what I was going to study. But I took one action. I emailed one professor and I asked if I could audit a class for free. Well, that email, that small, terrifying, imperfect email changed my life. Not because it was perfect, not because I had it all figured out, but because it moved me from the vague, low-stakes world of dreaming to the high-stakes, highly taxed world of doing. You see, your one action doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to be impressive. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real, because action, much like a rolling stone, creates momentum, and momentum creates belief, and belief creates more action. You don't need to see the whole staircase, which is a very unsettling metaphor, but it's true. You just need to take the first trembling step. Let's bring this whole terrifying situation together. Because if you've made it this far, congratulations, you're ready to stop merely surviving and start, dare I say it, thriving? Let's quickly recap. like a news program that ran out of time. The 5 steps to start dreaming again after a harrowing amount of trauma. Step 1, stabilize your nervous system. Turn off that smoke alarm, please. Wave a rag at it, get your broom and knock it off the ceiling, whatever you've got to do, but make it stop. Step 2, start with micro dreams. Get those tiny, delicious wins. It's going to feel really good. Step number 3, identify what you actually want. It's about you now. Step number 4, challenge the lies trauma has told you. Stop listening to the ghost. This ghost doesn't exist anymore. Step number 5, take one imperfect action. Just one. That's all I ask. These steps will not erase your past, and they will not make the pain disappear, but they will help you reclaim the very nice, very bespoke future that trauma has tried to steal from you. And that, my friend, is a win. If you're truly serious about this, and I hope you are, I've created a free worksheet for you. It's got reflection prompts, action plans, and a space to track your progress. It's like a very depressing tax form, only not depressing because you're actually working on you. The link is in the description. Download it. Use it. Please don't watch this video and go back to being vaguely uncomfortable. Actually do the work. And if this video helped you in any measurable way, subscribe to the channel because we're just getting started. Every week, I'm breaking down the strategies that help me go from statistically likely to end up in jail to building a life that requires the purchase of many, many tasteful throw pillows. You survived the trauma. Now, let's learn to thrive in a nice, quiet manner. Before you go, drop a comment and tell me which of these 5 steps is the hardest for you. Is it stabilizing your very loud nervous system? Is it figuring out what you want? Is it taking one single terrifying imperfect action? Let me know. I read every comment and I respond to every comment because I have nothing else going on. And your answer might become the topic of the next equally unsettling video. Hey, thanks for watching. Now, go download that very necessary worksheet, pick one step, and start reclaiming your future. I'll see you in the next one.